Greetings from ACT. Now, continuing here with David's training instruction. Excuse me. The last video ended with us with the instruction to David, so write down the answers and go back over the former 2 emails as given to do, if you haven't already done so. And then let me know when you have done these things. I will have you hold on to your written answer to the 3 questions, so keep it. Now, moving on. Next correspondence with David, from David. David wrote, with your last email response, I can now answer the 3 questions. In response to each, my answer is the same. It is as follows. The realization, materialization, and acceptance of my true self. Excuse me. After much thought, this is what resonates with me the most. After receiving your reply on my response to fear, I went back and followed the steps again. I must admit that the first time I may have been pushing for something to happen, instead of allowing the experience to play out on its own and just naturally observing it. However, the fear still feels like it came from within my chest, and the calm still in my stomach. But this time, with combining calmness and confidence, I experienced a different result. It was felt through my entire body, but twofold. First, my insides felt calm and relaxed, but this time it felt as if my skin from head to toe tingled slightly, but in waves, as if the sensation shifted constantly and was not in one place for long. Also, my breathing became more rhythmic without any conscious effort on my part. And since I can still remember the specific breathing pattern, to go back into that state is much easier. While at the same time, while still in that state, it's very difficult to summon the fear feeling again. As for reading the emails over again and allowing the full weight of the words to express themselves, I did that as well with the last 4 or so emails we've sent back and forth, and I do feel more present in the moment. Almost like a more laser focus that excludes all else for those few minutes. I've attempted to extend it even while working and speaking to people or riding in the car, to really listen to people's words or really see the trees, hell, to really wash the dishes, to put my mind solely on the task or the person at hand, and to not let the zombie portion of the day take over, and before I know it, it's 8 hours later. I did follow the instructions as prescribed on my own, and on my own I did the extra. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but I'm putting my best effort into being in the moment with most of the things that I do. My reply to David. Excellent. Please let me know when you have written by hand, on paper, your words, the realization, materialization, and acceptance of my true self. This will provide for you a very good departure point. This will provide for you a very good departure point for our first phase of work, which will follow you having done the week-long prep exercise. On second thought here, I will allow you to skip that week-long I will allow you to skip the week-long prep exercise. It was to serve 3 main purposes. A, it was to test to see whether you will follow instructions to the letter. That is, whether you will apply the general rule here. B, it was to give you a snapshot of your current mental status, such that in answering the 3 associated questions you would have before you your experience that your thoughts, when left to go on their own, 1, tend to go very far from a given starting point very quickly, 2, add up in number very quickly, and 3, develop broad content very quickly. All 3 even when you try not to let them go very far in any one direction. And C, it was to give you to get you used to self-restraint by following the instruction not to move physically for 15 minutes each day for 7 days. I think that in your above text here, what you've been indicating to me, you have shown that you can and will do, as in A, follow instructions to the letter. That you can easily intuit and predict for yourself the inference in B, a snapshot of your current mental status. I think that you can easily understand what the results were going to be of that week-long exercise. C, to get you used to self-restraint, that having to do with the lying completely still for 15 minutes, 7 days in a row, is not here yet indicated regarding you, but I feel confident about it with you. So, therefore, I'm going to have you skip that week-long prep exercise. Now, with respect to your more recent fear versus calm confidence experience, you now have experienced what I had previously hoped. Excuse me. Although by way of a mildly different arrival at it, just to clarify that you got out of it, my point that I wanted your experience to support, you noticed that you could go from fear to calm confidence more easily than you could go the other way around. I had thought that you might have experienced the calm confidence as coming from a deeper place than fear, and thereby support my point that calm confidence supplants fear due to its greater innateness to us, but you got to the point anyway. Just now add to your experience the concept that calm confidence roots in you more deeply than does fear, and that it vibrates at a higher frequency than does fear. It wins over fear, and it is the more natural state among the two. So you now have this knowledge because you have relevant experience, and because you possess some conceptual content to go with it. That is, you have justified belief concerning the what, the why, and the how. I propose to you that knowledge comes through experience, backed up by justified belief, and that wisdom entails the proper application of knowledge. And again, that knowledge comes through experience backed up by justified belief. I think that right now this will make sense to you. So there it is, for what it's worth at the moment. Something to remember through life, I suppose. Do not concern yourself with applying this knowledge right now outside of your active engagement with this training material. Further along, I will give you assignments in these directions that involve implementation into your daily life and way of being. Right now, I wanted you to acquire just this knowledge, this experience as given. The wisdom application of it will come. I will guide you along these lines. I don't want you to get overloaded with things to remember to do. Nor do I want you to develop new, even constructive habits that might need some alteration once we get to instruction in techniques relevant to them. So meanwhile, just let your subconscious mind work your knowledge into your overall conceptual matrix, so that when we get to further developments of it, it already will be firmly fixed with no further conscious effort on your part. What you can do, however, is to recall that mood of calm confidence that you have now experienced, supplanting fear and being a more innate state to you than is fear. Recall that mood of calm confidence when you attended to this training material. This will keep it all self-contained for now, and link it all together and aid you in your application of the general instruction to use all of this material as an attention training tool. Now, this immediately preceding strong recommendation to hold off also will serve another vital goal for you in this training. Let's call it not only a goal, but also a method. So I'll make it a prevailing instruction right here. Another general instruction as follows. Trust your subconscious mental functions to work for you. Now, with respect to your having applied the general rule and instruction, and maybe also your understanding of the general fact, you are acquiring knowledge of, in the least, how to get the most out of this training material, and to do so without strain. If I have not yet said so, here is another prevailing general instruction, which falls just under the other. No strain with this training. No strain with this training. If at any point in this training you feel strain, then you are not following the instruction to the letter. This can be a bit of a challenge, for some parts might seem overwhelming, especially if I get to bombarding you with information that is difficult to assimilate. The key is similar to what you learned about calm confidence over fear. The key is similar to what you have learned about calm confidence over fear. Here, easily willed attention to the task at hand and to the feelings of meanings and associated subtle energy changes wins over strain. These win over strain, and this ties in with trusting your subconscious functions to work for you. If you replace any strain that creeps up with attention to the task and to meaningful feeling, then you can trust your subconscious functions to pick up with the content where your conscious effort leaves off. And you can move on to the next thing consciously. We will get to more about how to make this work even better. For now, in this training, replace strain with attention and a meaningful feeling, and then move on. Trusting your subconscious mind to most of the further work for you in the direction of cognitive content assimilation. To repeat, for now, in this training, replace strain with attention and meaningful feeling, and then move on, trusting your subconscious mind to do most of the further work for you in the direction of cognitive content assimilation. For now, hold off on applying to affairs outside of this training material your new way of mentally focusing and feeling. I, however, do like that you practiced applying it otherwise. This tells me that you are able to foresee how all of this will work into your methods of action and your way of being. But for now, practice another thing with respect to this. Practice restraint, as I have indicated. But this is vital to will culture. Half of the use of will has to do with restraint. You will need this development in order to grow in all other affairs, such as attention control itself. Laser focus, such as you noted, among other things, relies upon restraint from all unwanted possible objects of attention. Practice with restraint is particularly potent when it involves something you really want to do. Right now, you really want to implement your new focus and meaningful feeling to everything you do. But restraint from that, outside of this training material, will not only more fine-tune your ability to focus, it will also keep your awareness of calm confidence and your practice with focus tied together. We want those to develop side by side. That is very important. This will also then tie in with implementing no strain in all of your affairs. All of your affairs. So as you can probably determine, we have much to address, and it all ties together. I am glad that you are giving me plenty of feedback. One reason has it that I can then tell when you are moving too fast or out of bounds. And each time I make such an observation and point it out, then I can tell you more about how and why, which is excellent for your growing cognitive matrix. But soon this could become an overload of information, unless you practice the instructions given to this point in all training affairs, and otherwise practice restraint. Recall what I said about due and undue attention? Maybe you would not have thought of it as applying to what I have just said. It does, however, and already we are slicing in deeply with these concepts and with what they mean. Do you feel that meaning? It is alive. Now, I want you to take 1 week and review this correspondence right here a few times, just exactly as you now know how to do. Do nothing else with this training content so far. That is, implement it to no outside affairs. And remember that we have not even really started yet. This has all been to determine whether we should progress with this together, and to get you familiar with the program. Now I want you to let this settle for a week, and to come up with a final decision. If you come up with yes, then we will start. And in the first 8 weeks or so, we'll be with rudiments, and we'll dramatically take off with your written, the realization, materialization, and acceptance of my true self. So come to a final decision. I want you to consider that once made, there is no turning back. That your entire future depends upon it. That your entire soul sojourn depends upon it. For this decision, you must decide whether you trust this material. Leave me out of this consideration. I am not this material. It is the material that you must decide about trusting. And you must decide whether you have a calm confidence in yourself with respect to it. And you must decide whether you can and will make the commitment to yourself. And whether you will do everything that you can to persevere in following through with it. And decide whether you will just implement the general rule, the general instruction, and the general fact. You have enough to go on. I do not want you to decide yes and then go astray. That would cause you to feel very let down, because either you would quit or I would stop. So take about 1 week to decide yes or no. And let me know your decision. If you have questions during the interim, let me know. Be well. So we will pick up with this in the next video. Be well.